What is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we're going to go over a whole lot of stuff, so stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Welcome. We have a packed show for you today, but if you are new here, remember you can always go over to marfooglenews.com and get our notifications and sign up for our emails. On top of that, we have a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today. That way, you know exactly where this information came from. If you go over to the website, it's very easy to navigate. You'll just look for today's thumbnail. Something is off. Do they sense something? Do animals sense something is coming? Once you click on that, it will be brought bring you to the full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. Again, that is very important because we are also archiving this. Later on, we can end up going back and saying, hey, this was predicted. There was a drill that we covered. You know, all of these things kind of lead, and they're very important. You have to look at what is going on, and you have to look at the big picture. On the website, you also see, once you hit a yellow bar on each page, you will see that that is the overflow. That is all the stuff that we could not fit into the show, so make sure to go down there and check it out. That's an entire other show. A lot of work goes into putting that there, so make sure to use it. All right, let's bring in my co/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So first of all, we're going to be talking about a ton of things today, but later we'll talk about, of course, the thumbnail and all the weird events that have been going on. First off, though, before the show even started, Carol Quanstrom, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate your support, and thank you so much. I appreciate that. And then, meet the mystery diamond from outer space. It says that scientists have debated its existence. Tiny traces provided clues. Now researchers have confirmed the existence of a celestial diamond after finding it on Earth's surface. It says the stone, called Lonsdaleite, has a hardness and strength that exceeds that of a regular diamond. The rare mineral arrived here by way of meteorite, new research has suggested. It says, what's more, the natural chemical process through which scientists believe Lonsdaleite formed could inspire a way to manufacture super durable industrial components, according to the authors of the study published September 12 in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. It says the revelation started to unfold when geologist Andy Tompkins, a professor at Monash University in Australia, was out in the field categorizing meteorites when he came across a strange bended kind of diamond in a space rock in northwest Africa. It said that study co-author Alan Selleck, a doctoral student and researcher at RMIT University in Australia, Tompkins theorized that the meteorite that held the Lonsdaleite came from the mantle of a dwarf planet that existed about 4.5 billion years ago. It said, this is one of his quotes, the dwarf planet was then catastrophically struck by an asteroid, releasing pressure and leading to the formation of these really strange diamonds. Which is kind of odd. We were just talking about this the other night, and I even believe last night somebody commented. In fact, I think I might have the comment still up here. Yeah, it said Stephen McMahon said many scientists think that the asteroid belt is the smithereens of a planet that was between Mars and Jupiter. I wonder if there's any relation there, that this might have been part of a planet or something instead of a piece of rock, right? Or, yeah, I guess they're all the same thing, right? It says it really takes advantage of a number of recent developments in microscopy to do what they did as well as they did it. It says the team was able to analyze the meteorite with the help of electron microscopy, right? Is that how you say it? An advanced they're just really getting me today. Synchrotron techniques, which built maps of the space object's components, including lonsdaleite, diamond, and graphite, according to the study. Diamonds and lonsdaleite can form in three ways. It can be through high pressure and temperature over a long period of time, which is now diamonds form on Earth's surface. And it says the shock of hypervelocity collision of a meteor or the release of vapors from broken up graphite that would attach to a small diamond fragment and then build up upon it. So now, when this new diamond or this new material, how are they going to get it? Again, that's one question that people have. And is this, what supposedly Xi and others are trying to do and trying to get off of the moon? I don't know. Dex, what do you think?
Well, first, these are not the microscopes we had in high school. That's for sure. I have a sneaking suspicion now that this is out and it's there. We're going to start to hear of companies, especially in the commercial sector, obviously, since they're companies, are going to probably start investing in some sort of program to go to the asteroid belt to try to capture, or mine or get that stuff. And I don't know if it's something that they can just go and retrieve and bring back, or if we've talked about how they've been talking about creating technology where they can direct, material back towards Earth so that it actually crashes here intentionally. So, obviously in a smaller size that can be somewhat safe so long as you know the exact place of impact and it's where you want it to go, right?
Like the University of Glasgow was doing. The University of Glasgow was studying and basically coming up with a way that we could get asteroids big enough to mine and survive the fall from the atmosphere, but small enough to where they didn't do any damage. And they say that they have figured out a way to basically direct an asteroid into Earth so where they can mine it for whatever substance they need. Is this our future, or is this partly of part of what some of the weird stuff that's been going on has been going on? I don't know. Dex, isn't that a trip that they are basically talking about stuff that really would require them doing that?
Yeah, it certainly is. And, this ultimately, this is probably the most expensive and valued diamond on Earth, right? Because it's the only one, it's the only one known. And, supply and demand, if this is the tech that they're looking at, then they're going to want to replicate it. And it doesn't sound like it's something we can create. It's something we have to mine, and it's not present on our planet.
And to be stronger than a diamond, that is pretty incredible. And then how would you if you got this in a bigger scale, what would they use it for, though? I bet it would probably be used in some sort of weaponry. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And thank you, everybody, for popping in. Be Real Beast, Homeland, thank you for subscribing. Beach King, Lisa, Mystery School, Justin True, thank you. 135 John, thank you. And then, of course, Zenwen AZ and Sean the Famous. Thank you for subscribing. So we talked about how there were no real named storms for the longest time. It was really, really odd. If you didn't follow, up until just a few weeks ago, there was no named storms. 3 months into the hurricane season, there was no named storms. It was very, very odd. A lot of people consider, all of these weird things like something is going on with our planet. Something is going on with some sort of cycle is happening where it's not good. And, of course, we've talked about how there were several La Niñas in a row. Not El Niños. Yes, La Niñas. Now we have 3 or 4 years in a row having La Niñas. But now it says tropical storm warnings issued for Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands ahead of Fiona. So I swear there was a storm already named Fiona, but maybe I'm just thinking of the woman on Shameless. I don't know. It says Fiona is a crash course with the islands of the Northern Caribbean, and AccuWeather meteorologists say that it could unleash whopping rainfall amounts in Puerto Rico and in the Virgin Islands. It says that Tropical Storm Fiona is closing in on the Leeward Islands Friday morning, and AccuWeather forecasters warned that the storm's strong winds and heavy rains would begin impacting the northeastern Caribbean by Friday night. There is a potential for the Fiona to become a hurricane after turning northward next week, and one scenario could bring the storm near the United States East Coast. I have a prediction that, and it's more of, I think this is how it's going to go this year. Obviously, it started late. I believe that the storm system is going to come in and stay late. I don't know if that's considered a fact, but I do feel like the last few years, almost every cycle has been like delayed or late, such as, the hottest day being, 3 months after after summer, or the coldest day being in the middle of April or in the middle of May. So I just have a feeling that the storms, although delayed, are still going to happen. And who knows, maybe we will get a really, really, really big one right at the end portion of it. But as of 11 a.m., Fiona, the sixth named storm of the season, which is crazy. Just like a week ago, there was none. A week and a half ago, there was none. Now there have been six. It's just like, boom, it hit out of nowhere. And then it says that it's located 135 miles east of Guadalupe in the Leeward Islands, and its maximum sustained winds remain at 50 miles per hour after it reached 60 miles per hour on Thursday. Tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 140 miles, which is an increase from 125 miles earlier Friday. So the peaks and the lows there. And then another California exodus. Dairy cows leave for greener pastures in Texas. Dex, do you want to talk about this? A few farms were squeezed.
It sounds like it. So it's not just big companies that are making the move, but it sounds like farmers are packing up the cows and heading to, I guess, a different farmland from Cali to now Texas. So something I never really thought that would be something they would do, but it sounds like it is. And in this case, there's a lot of, I guess, I don't know how much the water plays and the drought plays into that in Cali, but I could imagine it has some effect, but it's also, all the other things that are going on from economics and whatnot in that state that are probably driving these people to make decisions to move from one state to another, especially big decisions like moving an entire company, like Tesla or others, or an Oracle being one that moved, literally out of Cali to Texas to now, we've got dairy farmers. So kind of an interesting thing to look at. I'm sure those that love California and live in California don't want to see all this stuff leave, but they're obviously on their way out.
Okay, so I was talking to you about this earlier. I visited downtown Seattle this morning, and there are several buildings that are essentially empty. One of them being the building that once contained all of the Zillow employees. And what is really, really, really crazy right now is that there are several areas down there. And downtown is now, it seems like it's one big shelter if you go to certain parts. By the courthouse and by the jail, it's literally a tent city. Not, just a couple people here and there. They've actually set up in the court Pioneer Square area, and it's just all tents. But one thing to note is when CV hit, all of these different places shut down, and a lot of people worked from home. Now, I know that here it's pretty extreme because I think we are the second most people that ended up working from home from wherever they work. We had a lot of tech companies here, and we were the second most people that basically were able to work from home next to Washington, D.C. Now, Washington, D.C., again, is powered by the federal government. We are not. We're powered by these tech companies. Well, the tech companies sent everybody home and had them work from home. And it sent basically all of the bustling business that was downtown away. And then on top of that, all of the small businesses, the small bars, the small restaurants, the small salons, all of them closed down for months at a time. The ones that didn't have a savings of some sort, that, weren't able to make it through that CV period of when we were all shut down, they just disappeared and they never came back. I videoed down there. It was all boarded up for so much of it because there was, of course, the three-letter group there that was breaking windows and doing all sorts of destruction. But it was like after that, it never bounced back. And how this relates to this is all of the, and I'll just say it, the democratically run states, a lot of folks are leaving. And it's because there's just crazy, crazy rules that have gone over the last 3 years. And here, it's crazy. All of these skyscrapers are empty. Once bustling, metropolis is now this death town. There's basically begging things, begging notices saying, hey, we have, any amount of space, call us anytime. We're available 24/7. I saw one thing was for like a 2,500 square foot office for like $1,600 a month in downtown. How is that even possible? Maybe it was, I guess the equivalent of clickbait on a poster, but I was thinking that is, even if you were in the very edge or in the worst part of downtown, you're talking about $1,600 for a closet. Now there are nobody is down there. It's insane. And California is going the same way, or at least certain cities are. And then, this is the farmland of California, but they don't want to deal with all of the crazy laws and bans and this and that. And if you have a huge company, think about that. When you don't know how they're going to change all of the laws in your state in the next 10 years, you have no idea what they're about to change on you. I would say move too. But I was blown away by that, and it brings up a lot of stuff we'll talk about later in the show, like Lebanon. Basically, people are protesting, trying to get their cash. This is something that has happened in several places now, and we think that we're above that. And by we, I mean the NATO countries, UK, Australia, Canada, the USA. We all think that we're above all of this. I don't know about that. And then Christianity quickly diminishing in the U.S., on pace to become minority religion in decades. How is that even possible? First of all, Christianity is the largest religion in the world. It is the most powerful, and of course you have multiple different sections of it. How is this even possible? My guess, and just my opinion on this, is because of how culture has changed in the last 50 years and the push to basically make anybody who is Christian, essentially call them certain names that I won't even mention here. This is really crazy. It says a recently released study suggests that the number of Christians in the U.S. is diminishing quickly and being replaced by those who do not identify with any religion. So people have been saying like the end is nigh forever, right? And people have been saying that, that things are getting bad and the world's going to crap. But this is probably the first time we're actually seeing almost everything biblically coming true, or at least a cycle that actually happened in the Bible as well. In fact, before the Great Flood, a certain cycle happened. This is really nuts. So Dex, I know that, and by the way, I know that there are atheists. I know that there's pagans. I know there's all sorts of agnostics. I know there's everybody here. But I think everybody should be pretty shocked by this, right?
Well, yeah, I personally am only, I'm Christian, and I don't think that this is something that I would like to see happen by any means, right? It's just not part of our beliefs, and but at the same time, I look around and I do see plenty of people that at least are not necessarily following any one religion for that matter, right? Not that it has to be Christianity, but I see that number growing, especially in the youth, because at least in the people that are around the younger ages, 18 to 25, which I get. When you're that age, you're probably not that into faith and religion. But yeah, The other thing we got to think about, this is coming from a research. This was originally reported on Fox. It's probably reported a lot of other places, but the research was done by Pew Research Center. So, a lot of people question if it's legit or not. Of course, the numbers that they're putting in here are pretty staggering as far as the dates. 2045 is, I think, how far out the dates actually go. But it's if anything, it may be a wake up call for evangelication of Christianity. So,
and it says that the only scenario that projects Christians maintaining a majority in the U.S. through 2070 is if no one changes their religious affiliation after 2020. One really crazy part about this is there's just such a push on social media. Social media, I think, has done a huge part of this. If you see, there's just so much pushback against it. One of the TikTok videos that's been just pushed heavily, trending, just millions and millions of views, is a dude talking about Christian supremacy, and he substitutes white with Christian, and essentially it was almost the same definition, only put that. And all of these people were saying they love it and love it and love it. What I think is odd, and I have no problem with any of these other religions, but why are some of them have just the craziest things in them? Those are protected, but Christianity is not being protected anymore at all. You can't. Maybe this number is because people are afraid of saying that they are Christian, but you would think this study would be done privately or anonymously or something where they're not putting their name publicly or anything. Maybe people are just afraid to say they are because they think everybody around them will think that they're this or think that they're that. But that just doesn't, that's crazy. Just another point, from 90% of Americans identified as Christians in the early 90s, now they say that that's fallen to 64% by 2020. Go ahead.
Well, do you think that, I know social does play a big role in this, but do you think part of this has anything to do with, oh man, I totally lost my train of thought, but where I was going with this is, do we think that this change and the shift that's happening is something that, is prescribed and they're trying to do? And then the other question I have for everyone is, you talk about society and you talk about how the culture and the rules create certain things that are positive or they influence people to do them. And it's always the underdog, right? It's always the minority or something like that is, you got to support, and anything that is in charge or in the majority is sort of the loser or the one that should not get recognition. And in this case, Christianity has been, the largest religion on earth. So is that the reason why, this whole movement and this whole notion of society always going now with the underdog or the majority is the loser?
But the underdog, so saying that whatever is the biggest and baddest is the enemy, that's cultural, because they're saying that anybody above you should hate, right? Anybody who makes more money than you. If you're poor, then middle class is who you hate. Middle class, you hate the rich. The rich hate the elite. They've separated the classes. They've separated the color. They separated everything. The races, everything. And now they have separated this apart. And if that was true, then why aren't all of us coming together and realizing that we are the underdog? And I'm talking about just in general, the regular people, the regular non-trillionaires that run the planet. We are the underdog. So we should be rooting for ourselves. And then thousands of crocodiles invade beach, leaving locals panicking. A beach has been invaded by possibly thousands of crocodiles, leading to fears from local residents. The beach in Brazil has found itself inundated with a massive amount of crocs, with one person suggesting that the great change of climate could be to blame here for massive reptiles laying on land. It says a video of the creatures was taken and posted on Twitter and immediately went viral, amassing almost 4 million views. It says Ken Rutkowski, who tweeted the clip, claimed, in Brazil, an invasion of crocodiles that have flooded one of the beaches with several hundred, even thousands, and the local population is panicking. I'll show you this here in a second. It says, despite the video spreading like wildfire on social media, many people in the comment section question the validity of the claim that the crocodiles invaded the beach. It said that, according to one user, certain information about the crocodiles was not included in the initial post. They said, these are Yakar caiman, and like other crocodilians, they're exothermic or cold-blooded. To raise their body temperature, they venture onto land, exposing themselves to direct sunlight. So, okay, first of all, that comment sounds like somebody who may think they're right, and I don't know. You could find out that this is totally true, that they do this every day. But if they do something that they don't do every day, that sounds like somebody who's like, well, they're exothermic and blah, 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 but they're not from that area. The problem is, if that area doesn't ever have this happen, then why are they doing that? I'll show you the video right now. But everybody considers themselves an expert. Let's see here. It says in Brazil. Let's hold on real quick, and let's. All right. So if you look right here, here's the video, and there are a ton. I thought caiman were a little bit smaller. Those look giant, but this is really nuts. Because that is a whole lot of crocodiles. Now, if that is common, that happens every single day, that's one thing. But if this is a beach that normally people have their towels and umbrellas on, and this is happening, that is very strange. Again, stuff like this has been going on for a long time. I'll have to mention again, what's his name? What do you call him? Jason A. has done videos about this kind of stuff for a long time. And Jason A. is good at least grabbing the official news source for these things and the news articles about them and putting them together. I feel like he's less people watch him nowadays than what they used to. Like before I was on YouTube, his videos always hit like 1 million, 2 million views. But when you look at all of the stuff around the world in a big picture kind of way, people can say, oh, he frames it like this. He's taking clips of actual things that are happening and puts them all together. You could say, yes, he's collecting them, but I don't see how you could frame that any other way, especially when he doesn't even do commentary on them. He just puts out the news thing. And that's what I always enjoyed about his channel, because he was always just putting out the clip. There was no opinion. You judge for yourself based on what the story was, right? And I think that's actually kind of the best thing we could ask for right now is no opinion, just the video of what happened and then the date and time, right? So, but with this, we have seen so many weird events, and there's whole websites dedicated to all of the mass die-offs, all of the animals that are doing strange things. A lot of folks think that our poles are actually shifting. We know that they're shifting, but a major pole shift, and an actual 100% pole shift of the poles flipping, they still don't know exactly what will happen. Some believe it's kind of an end of the world scenario, and it does happen on a regular basis, but they're usually very far apart. So this is pretty nuts. What do you guys think about it? I'll open up the chat. Have you seen this before? I'm sure we'll get at least one person be like, I live on that street and I'm a crocodile expert, and I have studied crocodiles for 34 years in crocodile country, and those are definitely exothermic booby babos, and they go out at every day at 2:21 p.m. Did you guys like my impression? I thought I thought it was good. Let's see. No, but it's interesting. Where is the Croc Invasion? It's in Brazil. This is in Brazil. So now, Dex, do we have an exact place? Does it show the city anywhere in all of this information? I don't know if it did. I think it did, right?
I'm looking through the article. It just says a Brazilian beach area, and I don't see.
See, that's why.
It's in the Pantanal wetlands of Brazil.
Well, that sounds like somewhere where crocodiles would be, right?
Well, yeah, they are. But the question, and I can think the reason why people are asking is that it's not normal. At least the people that are putting it out are saying it doesn't seem like this is normal behavior. So is something else happening? Like what's causing them? Of course, they've got the change going on as their excuse. But I mean, what happens if tomorrow we hear, a big quake or something in that area, right? And these animals, or reptiles, they sort of warned it because they all did something weird, right? Just sort of like other things that beach or, other animals that just do crazy things when stuff is about to happen to the world.
Yeah, I wonder if they knew a tsunami was going to happen off the coast or something, or a subduction zone rips or something.
Or a giant megalodon was swimming through the water and they all freaked out. I don't know.
Yeah, right? Which, by the way, there was more weird stories that have come out in the last couple of months, but one of them was a giant whale was bit by something that looked like a megalodon, and some even say that some of the video of it was deleted off of the YouTubes. But anytime they say that, you don't know if it was actually deleted off of it or it never existed in the first place.
We reported on the megalodon sonar. In Overflow about a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
It turned out, since it's too late now for everybody to go read it, but it turned out to be like a giant school of fish that showed exactly the same shape as a megalodon. And everybody was so excited they thought they had a megalodon on sonar, and then all of a sudden it was a school of fish.
Well, or they say it's a school of fish.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
the cover story.
They're going back to the dock to get a bigger boat. Because they're going to need a bigger boat. And before we talk about Argentina, I just want to remind everybody, if you haven't already, on a very serious note, I hope that most people are checking out EMP Shield. This is an actual device that can protect you against EMP, electromagnetic pulse. It can also protect you against CMEs, so the natural kind, a coronal mass ejection. The EMP Shield is actually made by the same company that is contracted with agencies like DHS, DOD, and they are on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. What this device does when wired into several things is that it actually grounds the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry whatever you have it wired into. So they make a version that you can actually wire in and bolt right into your car. If you do have a car that's susceptible to an EMP or CME, I would definitely recommend checking. And then they also make, that's their most popular. They make them for trucks, RVs, boats, motorcycles. If you've got a Harley or something that you want to keep going. They also make them for your house. They also make them for generators. EMP Shield is actually making an energy EMP Shield for the energy solar generator. In fact, the energy solar generator is the only generator that you can get an EMP Shield for, or a solar generator that you can get one directly made from EMP for. So make sure to go marfooglenews.com/EMP. What's really cool is there's $50 off per device, and that stacks on top of any sale. When you go and purchase from any of our affiliates, essentially what's happening is we have negotiated a discount for you, and they are giving us a commission. That way we can earn money at the same time you can get a product that you are most likely looking out for or you're searching out for anyways, and you're helping our independent media channel. We are not treated equally as far as, other channels. If I was reviewing cameras or something or doing reaction videos, we would be in a whole different boat. But since we are not, it is very nice that things that you are already looking for, if you go through us, you can end up helping us financially at the same time. So thank you, and I appreciate everybody that understands that. I know ads are not fun, but it's definitely something that keeps the independent media alive. So thank you so much. And then Argentina, and it saves lives. I think it will absolutely save lives in the event of either of those events. Argentina to hike interest rates to 75% as inflation nears 100%. Remember, we are at like what, 8% or something? They're at nearing 100%. Dex, you want to go over this? This is pretty extreme.
Well, yeah. I mean, can you imagine rates going up? That amount, but more so, really thinking about inflation hitting 100%. Right? We're at the point where some things it's 25%, 10%, 50% in the worst case scenarios, I think. But imagine you're bumping up against 100% inflation.
Now, what would be an example of that? Like, so if something is $10, what would 100% inflation be?
Well, it'd be
$1,000?
Double that, right?
Or no? Okay. So basically, by 100%, meaning basically if something's $1, it's going to be $2. If something's $100, it's going to be $200. It seems like, so when they say that our inflation is 8%, that just doesn't seem right, because there are things that have gone up so much. For instance, you notice it on the cheapest stuff, like when Alaska Prepper has shown that, Rice-A-Roni, a box that used to be $1.50 is now closer to $4. A box that was the big family size used to be close to $3. Now it's like $5 or $6. It seems like we have a whole lot higher inflation than what they say. But what do you guys think? What are your opinions on this? This is pretty crazy, though, because we're seeing multiple countries go through this same thing. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and not only that, just think about the rates, the percentage points going up 5.5 to 75% for their interest rate. Okay. On one hand, that's good if you're putting money in the bank and saving it, but they're not, right? They can't afford anything. But at the same time, if you got a loan and the interest rate, like a home loan, it's high when it's 5% around here. Like we all think going from 5 to 6% is a huge, increase in your mortgage payment. Imagine what a mortgage is when you have 75% interest. I mean, that's insane, right? I have to do the math on it. I've never even thought of interest being that high. So that kind of stuff. The other thing that does is it actually encourages people to take loans out of their country. So imagine you're a business and you can get a loan in US dollars, but not in Argentinian dollars, at a varying rate that's a lot less, right? So you take that out, but then, as the inflation happens, and by the way, you're selling goods and services in Argentina, not in the US. So as the more inflation goes up, the less your dollar is worth against that loan you have. So even that still crushes you. So you get crushed no matter which way you go.
Well, I mean, can you imagine in the future if say you wouldn't get an American loan and you would get a Chinese loan? Like you would, imagine if this happened here and you were going to Xi's country, you would be asking Xi's country for a loan because it would be so insane here. Or anywhere if you're in the UK or, Australia, Canada, Mexico, wherever. But this is nuts. 75%. And great point there. Latrell Group, LLC, says, sign of the times, maternity wards are shutting down. In their opinion, majority of people are sterile due to GMO additives. We are the last generation. Take a poll. Who knows a baby under 1 year old? True birth rate of live births are skewed. Okay, game on. I am very curious to see that. Okay, so who knows anybody with a baby that is less than a year old? I will turn on the chat. Let's have everybody answer this. 1, if you know somebody with a very tiny baby just born. 2, if you do not. Just make it that simple. 1 or 2. 1, you know somebody with a baby that is under a year old. Or 2, do you not? And I think that should be pretty easy to see. Okay, 2 is you don't know anybody. 1 is you know somebody with a 1-year-old. So I don't know. That's a lot of ones. So yeah, I mean, if it was like 99% ones, that would scare the crap out of me. But it does look like a ton of people know somebody with a baby under one. But I don't think that disproves what you're saying. I know that many stories have come out. There's studies, there's research, there's data to show that our sperm counts are going down as far as men in general, men all over the world for whatever reason. And then, of course, women's fertility rates, all sorts of weird stories have come out regarding that. That is just really odd. But as you can see, there's a lot of people. Somebody said, is there a chat raid? No, I asked a question. 1, if you knew somebody under 1 year old, or 2, if you don't. Lachelle Group basically said, majority of people are sterile. Take a poll. Who knows a baby under 1 year old? By the way, I think, that's something we'll be covering in the future. I think you are right, though. Something is going on with that. Is it a natural cycle? Is it something that, is some sort of evolution of things? I don't know, but it's very scary. But yes, or is it something in the water? Is it something in this, something in food? We know that there is all sorts of genetically modified stuff in our stuff. So. And then prices soaring everywhere, from beans in Brazil to pork in China. It says consumers and businesses around the world are facing steeper prices for everything from Mexico's beloved tortillas to the aluminum cans used by beer companies. It says inflation jumped after countries emerged from the CV shutdowns, and it soared since Vlad invaded UKR, which, of course, you got to blame it on that, not shutting down the world for, a year. It says with the IMF expecting consumer prices to rise by 8.3% globally this year. I actually got a debate/argument with Dex about how bad CV may have hurt us. I personally think we have not seen the full result of it, and I think he would agree on that as well. But I think that alone is enough over time in the next couple years to essentially destroy us and gut us, and may be the sole thing that kind of broke the camel's back as far as destroying our world economy and making it all just kind of fall apart. The house of cards just crumbles. Think about the transfer of wealth that happened since 2019. Think about this. In a 4-month period, more money was printed out of thin air in the United States than in all of history. Just to repeat that, more money in 4 months was printed out of thin air based on a debt-based system than ever in history. I added the echo for a dramatic effect. In history. And guess what? Most of that was the big companies that do all those ads with side effects. You know what I'm talking about. Those guys, most of the wealth went directly right up to them. And guess who is, guess who's holding their pocket? The kids used to jump on my legs. Okay. I'm gonna keep my kids in the other room. You know what I'm saying. Dex, comments.
Oh no, I don't disagree with the statement. I don't disagree with what has happened monetarily. I don't know. I think maybe I'm just more of a cynic on the fact that CV itself is the cost. It was more of the actions that everyone took around it, which, I guess you could say is sort of the same thing. It's more of my belief that, like,
well, if they're the perpetrators,
the first year it was real, but then after that, it's sort of like everybody could go right back to doing what they were doing. It's just that they didn't, and they spent money, and they gave handouts, and they did all this stuff, which, and printed tons of money, and we sent billions overseas to other people, right? And all that happened was, that was, we used the guise of CV to do a lot of that, but it wasn't really necessary. It was just, that was what they were doing. And it's dumb. It's foolish. It's basically wrecked the economy.
Well, tell me how any of these checks that were sent out, these stimulus, how did any of those, did any of those, do you think that $1,200 saved somebody from being homeless? I don't think so. Rent here is $2,000, so it wouldn't help anybody here. $2,000 for one
food, but they also had the rent delay, right? They got the postponing of evictions that was like what, a year and a half they did that.
Yeah, but that's 1 month of food. They shut down for months and months. There were servers here that could not work for 4 or 5 months straight. There were hairstylists that could not work for 5 months straight. No work. Couldn't do it from home. Couldn't do it at work.
Well, and let's not kid ourselves.
And that's 1 month of food. Here we've done a poll, and people said that it was anywhere from $400 per person to $1,000 for like two people, or one. Even one person said $1,000 for one person for food every time. Basically $250 a week for groceries. Here it's that expensive. I mean, it really is in a lot of places around the country. But what were you saying?
Well, yeah, I guess my point being is, all the money that they put in those bills didn't go directly to Americans. We all got a check, or everyone got some sort of check. But at the end of the day, there was all of the slush funds that were in there. There was all of this other money that went out in other forms, where businesses were able to take loans and not repay them. A lot of businesses that didn't need it did it anyway, and now they're finding people that did. But nonetheless, that money was printed and given to them. So, while $1,200 to one person may not have meant much, but a $500,000 loan to another company that kept a whole bunch of people on staff and paid them for a year and then didn't have to pay the loan back, that meant a lot, right? So, and I know a lot of businesses that did that, and they were legit, and I'm not saying they did it wrong. They did the right thing. They had a company, and they agreed to keep the payroll the same and keep the employees on board so that they were employed during the whole time. And in exchange for that, they took a loan, and then if they followed the rules, they were able to wipe the loan off. So, yeah, but again, my point is, that's a huge amount of money that was just thrown out there from the government. And yeah, it didn't all go to us directly. It went to everybody indirectly, and a whole lot of it went to a whole lot of other people that didn't need it and were using it, whether they were the big companies that were probably charging an arm and a leg for those things that they were producing at a rapid pace without a lot of testing, and other advancements that they were getting paid for.
And if you look closely at, there was just huge chunks of money that were given to some of the big box stores that were left open. Think about how much business Target and the Fred Meyers and the Costco's and the Walmarts, how much business they did during that time period, and they never had to shut down. Just insanity. They also cut their hours, which is funny. You would think, they would lose half their money, but because they cut all the 24-hour stores, it's like people only had a certain amount of time to go there, and it was always busy. I remember when it first switched over to that, it was like every time of the day. You used to be able to go to the grocery store on on a Tuesday night or something, and it wouldn't be busy. It was busy for the longest time because there were reduced hours, and there were only a few places open, so everybody was going to them. Meanwhile, the little mini ma and pa stores ended up shutting down and never coming back. And people just say that. They go, all these little places closed down but never opened up. Those were people's lives. Each one of those businesses was families, and then all of the families that they employed, all of their employment was gone. It was a farce. It was an absolute. If you look at what happened now, it's not because of what they ended up releasing out, why it's not there. It's because if anything, it changed and it got weaker and all of this stuff. I don't think most of it was even needed. And it's just absolutely nuts to think about the damage it did.
To put the numbers in perspective, according to just some quick research, 4.63 trillion was the total U.S. budget spend on the CV. So 4.63 trillion. The national debt, think that number they're showing me is wrong, but that's a
Why?
significant amount. Basically,
does
you
it
could
say
just say
$100
that's
trillion or something now?
yeah, 30. It looks like 30.8.
That's correct.
Trillion.
That's
so, yeah.
correct, Dex.
So that 4.7 trillion just went straight to that line because it's not like we have it. We made it up.
Wait, so you saw the 30 trillion and you're like, that can't be right. Did you think it was going to be less?
No, I thought it was going to be more. I was looking at one
okay.
that said 28.4 and I knew it was higher. So
Okay, yeah. It's over 30 trillion. 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 Trillion dollars. And then, by the way, there's a lot of details. We're not going to go over all of them, but that article shows you all of the different hikes and all of the different things that have gone up. It said Heineken, the world's second largest brewery group, hiked its prices by an average of 8.9%. And because we were talking about the other day, somebody said, because somebody said that there was a piece that said prices have gone up an average of 8% or 10% or whatever. And they said, there's stuff that's up 60%. It says brewers have been hit not only with rising grain prices, but also for the aluminum cans and glass bottles for their beer. These are 70% more expensive than before the conflict in Ukraine. It says, according to the Trade Association of European Brewers. So they're also explaining why, for you to get a buzz on, it's Vlad's fault too. That one is actually one of the few that I could see being related, right? But they blame everything. They're like, people are having less babies. It's the invasion in UKR, Thank you, Catherine Sigurdson. I appreciate that from Canada. It says, I just bought the EMP Shield from you for my truck. I feel a little bit more secure now. Well, the good thing is if you have one wired in, I mean, that's the whole part of it, is the more prepared you are, the less afraid you are. If you have things, we were talking about it earlier, and we'll talk about it in a little bit here. In fact, this is a good time. Is this a cycle? Is this something that it's more of, instead of surviving the end of the world, it's more surviving this cycle of conflict. If we have a conflict and a lot of people will perish, if we have a huge event, these huge events happen so often in human history, and a lot of people are lost. There's been so many over our history, but is this our generation's version of that? It happens every once in a while, and it seems like we're overdue. A wave of Lebanon bank heists to seize back frozen savings. So it says a man held up a Lebanese bank to withdraw his frozen savings Friday. So he's robbing them for his own money. Just let that soak in. The latest of a string of depositor heists in the crisis-hit country that have garnered wide public support. So there's actually protesters protesting and supporting the people doing this because they're trying to get their own money. It says Lebanon has been mired in an economic crisis for more than 2 years. I wonder what happened back then. Since the value of its currency began plummeting and banks started imposing draconian restrictions on withdrawals. Now, Dex and I were talking about this earlier as far as this is because their economy's gone to crap. In Canada's instance, it was because they were controlling and they were like, we want to stop this action. So they were restricting people because they weren't doing what they wanted them to do. In Xi's country, same thing. They were basically holding people's money that were doing something that their government did not believe in. That's something that, is basically super controlled. This is the economy going to crap. And this is why I argued. I said, it just so happens over the last 2 years since this, CV stuff happened, now they're plummeting and all of this is happening. My point is, I believe we are going to see more countries all over the world in the next year have this same sort of thing happen. And how many times have we heard lately that people can't get their money out of the bank? It is the scariest thing, whether it be for the government telling them they can't get it out because they, put some post on Facebook, or if it is a country just completely collapsing. The Venezuelas, the Argentinas, the Lebanons, of course, all of these have something in common. The economy is just dropping from underneath them. It says the holdup of a Beirut bank on Wednesday by an activist who filmed herself using a toy bang bang appears to have sparked a series of copycat raids by people fed up at being unable to withdraw their savings. There were another 3 such incidents in the country on Friday. In one of them, a man carrying a bang bang and a jerry can of fuel demanded staff at a branch of Byblos Bank in the southern town of Gazieya hand over his deposit. They're trying to get their own money back. I think it's all of our worst nightmare is when we go to the ATM or to the bank and they just say no. You can't have your money, or there's an error, or there's just something happens and you can't access it. This is why this is why a lot of people do not like using banks. This is why a lot of people like still using cash, because think about it, anything can happen, and that's why people are investing in gold and silver. This is why people are investing in diversifying their funds, because what happens even if you have $5 million, if it's in a bank that you can't access, what good is it? Dex, what do you think about all of these events? Do you think that this is something that could happen more places?
Well, certainly it can happen anywhere. When an economy collapses, the first thing people want to do is get their hands on their money, especially when they don't hold their money themselves, which is what we're all accustomed to doing, right? We have everyone stores their money in a bank because it's safer, right? I think, I shouldn't say everyone. I'm sure somebody out there is like, I got it all under my mattress and I pay everything in cash and money orders, and that's fine. You can do that. But realistically, most people, don't have enough security or feel secure enough to store all their cash, and they use banks. And so when economic times get tough, and not just tough like they are here, but tough like they are there, where everything is in disarray, people want to go get their money. And the banks actually don't have it. They don't actually have the money to give. That's the problem, because a lot of this is just, as we said, they just print stuff. They just make stuff up. They're trying to uphold these economies and keep them going without having them collapse. And it seems like, we've seen, and as you and I talked earlier, it's like, maybe this is a one by one thing where each of these countries are just taking their hit, right? And they probably will. We saw it early on, with Venezuela many years ago, or a couple years ago, right? But going back to your point about cycles and the conversation we had about cycles, I'll just sort of rattle these off as examples of these cycles. And it's not just conflict cycles, it's sort of cycles around why people prep. And if you go back, you have the 50s and 60s with the cold conflict, right? And that's when a lot of people started to take, initiatives to prepare themselves, whether it was building bunkers under their homes or fallout shelters or whatever, and then starting to store them. You had it again in the 70s and 80s. It was like that sort of fell off a little bit, or it calmed down. And then we had another cycle where in the 70s and 80s, you had what were called the retreaters and the survivalists. And there was a lot of books written, a lot of information exchanged, but you didn't have the internet. You didn't have a lot of communication devices. And then leading up through the 90s, we had some of the more extreme stuff, which a lot of people don't want to be labeled with, and I'm not going to go there. But you also had things like Y2K, right? That built, how many people thought the world was coming to an end on New Year's Eve in 1999, right? A lot of people. And that was sort of yet a big event. And then, of course, we had something the next year, which was really big for our country and devastating for the people in New York and other locations around, right, in 2001. And then here we go again, with another round of, this type of cycle where people are, focusing in on getting prepared. And there's nothing wrong with that. I guess it's just, if you look at what, if you go back in time and you think about how this has evolved, that we go through these periods of time where there is this cycle of events that make us think, and I don't want to say, I'm not saying that because it's wrong to think that way. It's actually probably right to think that way, but it makes us think that there's something we need to be prepared for. Whether it's in the 50s and 60s, it's the threat of nuclear. If it's, Y2K, it was the threat of every power grid going offline and every plane in the air falling from the sky because they thought everything was just going to break when the clock flipped, right? So there's these events that have happened over and over again that sort of drive, awareness towards this action of trying to be prepared or getting more people encouraged or enlightened to what may be going on around them. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And the thing is, we had WW2 and a huge chunk of our population, the world's population, was taken out. WW1, a huge chunk was taken out. In the world's history, there's always been some sort of human common denominator that makes us feel this looming thing over us. Of course, since my mom was a kid, she is now passed, but even when she was a kid, there were people that said, Jesus is coming soon. Every year since, and in most Christian religions, that has been a thing in church forever. But I guess when you look at the big picture, how much of this came true until the last 10, 15 years? There were definitely signs there, but man, I have never seen so many things all happen at once. And I guess you could try to pick apart parts in history and say that this was all going on. But when, if there was the threat of these things for 50 years or for nukes, since Japan, the two uses of nuclear weapons, are we thinking that it's just never going to be used? I don't know. I think that at some point in our future, I believe in my lifetime, I will see it used again. I think that humans, especially when humans are in charge of countries, they're flawed and they argue and they get in stupid crap. And that's why the people that did prepare throughout history, doesn't matter what civilization it was before it fell, there were people that prepared and there were people that got through it and lived through it. And I think that it's part of who we are. I personally think that we were, born like this. Everybody wants to say, I was born thinking I was this or this. I was born thinking that I'm going to be one of those people after the big events happen. And I think that, who knows, though, maybe I won't survive. But I think I'm going to try. There's a massive event during almost everybody's life, and I don't think it was September of 2001. I don't think that was the massive event. We're talking about, the one that T-Man said that the I Country had planned, and they said they took out Soleimani because they were planning something that would make 2001 September look like chicken feed. Think about what that would have to be. That would have to be something national across the country. Stuff is going down. Phones are going off, EMP or something. Something massive was planned. And they took out Soleimani for that, but they didn't even get his right-hand man. And that country has been giving us a lot of low-key, just creepy clues. Just freaky stuff. So I think it is something that we should talk about and discuss. But I think most of us here, we want to prepare for whatever that the next cycle brings. All right, and then major fire breaks out at a 42-story skyscraper in Changsha, China. It says a major fire broke out in a 42-story skyscraper in the central city of Changsha in the Hunan province on Friday. This is pretty trippy, and it says the Hunan Fire Department said in a statement on its official Weibo account that it was notified around 3:48 p.m. local time that a fire had broken out in the telecom building in the city's Furong district. So this was the Xi Telecom building. Funny. I wonder what was in this building, by the way. Obviously it was a telecom building, but what office was burned? Well, where did the fire start? I'm very curious to find out if there's more information about this. Changsha Fire. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me jump in real quick. These telecom buildings, if it's anything like we know in other countries, ourselves included, are usually the hubs of major fiber networks and major backbones, as well as anywhere you would place intelligence hookups, military hookups, things like that.
Notice the no windows?
Right. So when you see buildings like that and telecommunication buildings like that in major central areas like here in the States, there are certain specific places where there is a major telecommunications company that owns a building, owns all this stuff. And I promise you, I know for a fact, and I'm not just making this part up, I know for a fact there are certain areas where, the 3-letter agencies and the military are all embedded in those buildings because of that network connectivity. They have their own sections, they have their own information that's, lopped off of there, secured off, et cetera. So when you see a telecom building, especially like this, it's a very good question to ask, because I can't imagine that it's just something we do here in the US and it doesn't happen that way anywhere else. It makes absolute 100% perfect sense that your intelligence groups, your data groups, your military groups, et cetera, are going to be linked up where the hubs of these major networks are. So a big telecom building catching on fire, it's probably not somebody overheating the surge protector in the room. It might be something more.
And by the way, I'm showing a picture of one of the skyscrapers in New York, and we have one that's very similar. These are the hubs of like intelligence centers. So that is what caught fire. So I wonder, I really wonder if the next piece of the puzzle just got put in with that event. Was that some sort of sabotage? What actually happened there? It might be something that they end up responding to. Again, the public is going to be told it was just a miswired outlet or something. But when it's to this kind of building, there's a lot of suspicion that it was some sort of foul play done. And what did it do? Is this an act of conflict? If they find out who did it, if somebody did it, don't know. All right, and then we're going to be moving on. Thank you, Adam Marshall. I just wanted to pop over and thank everybody over on DLive. Thank you, guys. Let's see here. Dust, thank you. Isaiah Almanza, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your support there. And I believe I missed you there. Catherine Sigurdson, thank you. Apocalyptic Ben 3311. I posted that video weeks ago, mating season. So Apocalyptic Ben, please send me the link. Still need verification of that. Lachelle Group LLC, Sign of the Times, got it. And then Stephen McMahon with within 7 years, Christianity will be demonized. Well, technically it's always demonized, because it's Christianity, but... And then Isaiah Almanza says, hello, fam. Be safe. Head on a swivel. Be ready and live each day to the fullest and laugh every day. Love, peace, and chicken grease. LOL, Star Fox out. Hey, thank you. And again, appreciate that, Star Fox. Dust, thank you for the generous support. Thank you for supporting Independent. Really do appreciate that. And then Simply Pony says, hello, Motherfooglers. Carol Quanstrom, thank you as well. And then again, Latrell, thank you, and thank you. By the way, Mystic Truth Ninja, thank you for being the top supporter over on DLive. Really do appreciate that. Let's go. A little late to the party. That's okay. And then Bear Lover 92,000, working retail. We have seen a lot of people with cash. Working retail, we have seen a lot more people with cash. Huh. I wonder why. Either way, something's going on. And then before we talk about Vladian officials, I do want to remind you, if you haven't seen our setup yet, again, my studio is actually run on an Energy Flex 1500. If you've never seen a solar generator before, this is one of the coolest and one of the most portable and modular systems out there. You can actually expand it up to 96 batteries. This thing is literally one of the coolest things on the planet, in my opinion. Again, I have used this thing so much, mine is actually getting beat up. I was going to do a formal review of it and kind of go over my pros and cons. But again, this thing I have been taking everywhere. We've taken it to all of our camping trips. We have taken it to our cabin. It is awesome because it is essentially taking the grid with you. When you have this paired up with solar panels, you essentially have power on the go. What is really cool about this system is it charges faster than comparative systems, and you can even mod it to where it can have triple the inputs. So if you get a supercharger mod for the middle, you can actually, instead of 4 panels, you can actually add 12 panels, up to 1200 watts input with that supercharger mod. But again, you might not even need that. It depends on how much you need. Some folks might get away with just having the base unit with one 100 watt panel, and that will be good for them. But with 4 panels, it charges in about 4.5 hours. It is actually, in 3 hours. Or you can charge it from your wall. It actually charges faster with 4 panels than it does with their supercharger cord, which actually charges it in 4.5. So if you haven't seen the system, make sure to go. This is an investment. This is something that is a serious solution to having no power. Once power goes out, that is going to be a huge deal. It doesn't matter if it's a day, 2 day, 5 days. This thing will keep you going. Again, this is a great system. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy, and I highly recommend checking out their folding portable panels. They all have handles, and you can bring them with. One of the best parts, though, about this is it's silent. It is running right now. It's quieter than a desk fan. It is absolutely silent, makes no sound, which means people won't hear it from 3 blocks away. Not only that, you can have it inside. This doesn't have any kind of noxious fumes, and it does not take $5 a gallon gas. You can also get an EMP Shield directly made for the input and output of this to protect your investment. And then make sure to go check out, while you're over there, the Kodiak system is their new all-in-one that will be shipping in December. That has a built-in battery, and it has a record-breaking 6,000 charge cycles, one of the first and best of its kind right now that has that kind of charge capacity and length and longevity. In 16 years of charging this all the way up to full and all the way down, this will still have 80% of its capacity after 16 years, going from full to empty every single day. That's incredible. So this thing, if you weren't using it every single day, this thing will last decades. So make sure to go over and check that out. That will be shipping out in December. Make sure to get over there soon if you want yours. All right, and then Dex, let's go over Vladtown and what's going on there. It looks like the...
Yeah, I'm trying to see which one you're on. Okay, yeah. So as we heard, with the funeral, the upcoming funeral, Vlad was not invited. Well, now they've officially spoken, and they've come out and said that, and it's not Vlad saying this, is one of the officials, but is basically saying it's deeply, quote unquote, deeply immoral for them not to invite. And by the way, I think they invited NK, they've invited basically everybody except for Vlad. And obviously
they invited
because
Kim.
Yeah, they invited everyone, including Kim. I think they also, it's in our overflow today, that they didn't allow Xi's affiliates to go to part of it, but they're still invited. So they were like withheld from, I think, attending where she's lying in state. I think they didn't want her, they didn't allow Xi's country in there. But yeah, everyone's invited but Vlad. Like he's literally the only one not invited.
How are we inviting a country like Kim, NK and Kim Jong-un to something like this? That's what I don't get. If there's so many sanctions and basically they're doing all of these, crimes against humanity, and they say all of this, how do they then say, oh, but come to our party and eat some hors d'oeuvres? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. It just shows you that they don't really care. I don't know. That's disturbing to me. If they say that Kim has done so much bad stuff, then why would they invite him to this thing? That seems deeply immoral. And then Vlad's country says private satellites could become legitimate target during wartime. Just to repeat that, Russia says private satellites could become legitimate targets during wartime. And whose satellites are helping UKR? Ours. It says that Vlad continues a trend of making provocative statements about the international order in space. As the United States continues to leverage more commercial satellites for intelligence and communications work, Vlad has issued a warning that these may become, quote, a legitimate target for wartime operations. Now, if you think about this, if what they say is true and they are truly losing and they're doing really badly right now, that is partly because we do know that our satellites and possibly, and by the way, we'll go over Elon Musk and a couple things, weird things he said lately. He did a single tweet that said Starlink is for peaceful uses only. And I wonder if this is kind of in response to some of this. It seems like he tweets out a day before some of these stories happen. But Starlink has been used for internet in UKR. And then, of course, our satellites have been used to target Vladian ships and other things. So I wonder if they think if they're going to, I don't know, catch up or to get back at them or to start making progress, will they have to knock out a U.S. satellite? And will that be an act of conflict? Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's not just our, obviously our military and government satellites are always part of it when it comes to conflict, but they're literally talking about Elon. But more specifically, I think they're even talking about Maxar. And Maxar is one of the companies we talked about a couple years ago when we told everyone about this sat technology that they had launched that could map the Earth. And it could not just map it, but they were taking high-res photographs. And, you know, as a commercial business, they're selling that service, right? So a good example would be, let's say you owned you managed hundreds of thousands of acres of forestry, and you needed to know if anything in that forest had changed, like somebody came in and started bulldozing down your trees, right? You would pay Maxar to give you, 24-hour images of the whole thing, and they could tell you if anything changed in that section. Of course, they could also take a much smaller area and tell you if a survivalist decided to go set up camp in the middle of a specific place, because they could just monitor every inch of earth, or at least every inch where there's land, to see if there's any changes. So that kind of technology is out there. It's commercialized. There are companies that pay for it. They pay for the mapping services. They pay for the topography information. They pay for the monitoring, as I was just describing. Maxar is just one of those companies, just as much as Elon is one of those companies that's doing data and sending internet connectivity to places and being able to do that. So all of these companies have been investing heavily in sat technology, and that's exactly what he's going after, because that kind of stuff is easily used in a conflict, and it's not just the government anymore. It's not just the military anymore.
Now, I want to also point out that this is Elon's. I pointed out this 1 hour old tweet. It was literally right before the show, and he tweeted that Starlink is meant for peaceful use only. Now, I don't know if this is in response or at all related. He does a couple stupid memes, but then he actually made, it says, inspired by Cybertruck, the limited edition Cyber Whistle is a premium collectible made from medical grade stainless steel with a polished finish. So you'd be like, why is he making a whistle? Well, I think this is his tongue-in-cheek thing. I don't even know if this is real. I haven't clicked on it yet. But it says, blow the whistle, right? This isn't just for I think he does stupid stuff like this to make a point. It says, but you have to pay in Doge, right? That's a joke, right? You think, right? And then it says, no, we are working on making the whistle sound much louder. You're like, okay, where's this going? This is right after it says he posted Ronan Farrow. I didn't care. They didn't care how much it would cost them People around Twitter, whistleblower Peter Mudge Zatko, are being inundated by offers from secret clients paying for dirt on him as he testifies on the Hill about an alleged security crisis at Twitter. So, the interesting part here is this whole stupid Twitter, this blow the whistle thing and the Cybertruck inspired whistle. He does tweets like that to make a point and to get out stuff on Twitter. But he's basically saying, blow the whistle. We need this to be really loud. We need this to get out there. And he's talking about Twitter. And this was the same day that he did. We told you, again, 3 days ago when he says, my tweets are being suppressed. Please fix at Twitter. Dex, go ahead.
Hey, sorry, Adam. I was just doing some quick math. But yeah, it's actually on his website. If you go to shop.tesla, it's out of stock, but it's not just a tweet. It's not just an image. He didn't just have the artist create an image. It's on the website in their store. And it's just out of stock. Yeah, it's 1,000. I was doing the math. It's 1,000 Doge is what he's asking for it. So
and you actually have to buy it in Doge?
Yeah, you buy it with Doge, although that's what they're claiming. I don't know that anybody's bought it yet, but by the way, he's done other things like this before, and they actually sold them. And
no,
they sell out within minutes, and then they're on eBay for
hundreds of dollars.
1,000x.
Yeah, no, and people are buying anything because they're made in these small batches. He makes these weird things, and people eat it up. He's done this before. But think about the turnaround time. So they had that custom made in one of their factories, a whistle, and it says he's making it louder. But what this whole whistle thing was just to further this whole thing, like blow the whistle on Twitter. Just what a nut. Like these are the people of our age. These are the people that are powerful and in charge. They're all nuts. Look at McAfee, McAfee. It's like, that guy was just a complete nut. But he probably did have some stuff. By the way, after seeing the documentary on McAfee, I do think he's alive. And if you've seen it, then you probably know why. I'm not going to ruin the whole thing for you, but if you see what the heck he was doing before he died, then you'd probably realize, like, maybe this is all part of it. Crazy stuff.
What's the name of it again?
It's called Running with the Devil. And it's the John McAfee story. Just nuts. And it's all footage of him on the run before he passed. The guy faked a heart attack to get out of a hospital. Like all this stuff that we heard rumors about and stuff, a lot of it actually happened. He was arrested and this and this and that. He just kept getting arrested everywhere he was going, and then somehow would get out, would bribe somebody. All of these countries are super corrupt, and they say that the claim is that he hacked the Belizean government and had all sorts of information, not only on how corrupt they were, how they were connected with the cartel, and all of this was connected to U.S. politicians. Just crazy stuff. He even claimed that he could access information of every agency, including KGB, NSA, all of the crazy ones, and that he could get information on anybody in the world. And that sounds crazy until you realize the service that he did, the service he started, McAfee Antiviruses. He was like the antithesis of the Gates and Steve Jobs. He was like this third part of it. To this day, his stuff is on every freaking computer out there. It's just really nuts to think about. This is what we are living in, though. We are living in a movie. Just nuts. And then Vlad tells Modi that he'll stop the UKR invasion he ordered as soon as possible after the Indian leader criticized Vlad's conflict to his face. Says that the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday criticized Vlad's conflict in UKR while meeting with the president face-to-face Well, they were both in Uzbekistan for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. It says, I know that today's era is not an era of conflict, and I have spoken to you on the phone about this, Modi told Putin. It said that Putin told the Indian leader, I know about your position on the conflict in UKR, and I know about your concerns. We want all of this to end as soon as possible. It said the Vlad's president remarks to his Indian counterpart echoed comments on Vlad's unprovoked and they had to add that in there. I guess that's not debated. And by the way, I think that things like that there should be at least some debate on that in UKR, and that he made Xi the day prior. It says, we highly value the balanced position of our Chinese friends when it comes to the UKR crisis. Mind you, this is at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The SCO, right? India is part of that, directly connected to Shanghai, to China. And yet, they say that Xi and India is got this big battle going on and they're mortal enemies, but they are very, very financially tied. And India is a very close partner with Vlad, and I almost think this is all just for the public's sake, for the people of India, so they think that they're, poo-pooing on this, but really, he says he's against their battle in UKR. Meanwhile, that same president is helping them buy 6 times the amount of oil from Vlad so he can skirt around the sanctions. Dex, doesn't that kind of seem funny that at the same time as saying we don't approve, we're also helping the crap out of you?
Right. Yeah, it's kind of a double standard, but yep, they definitely sit in the middle and play both sides for sure.
Not only do they play both sides, they've had our what do you call it? They've had our people drilling there, and then the next week they'll have Russia drilling there. Just nuts. And then explosion at Melitopol. Vlad's country seems to be smoking at the airfield mayor. Dex, why don't you cover this one?
This is kind of humorous just because of the way the message is coming out. Hopefully nobody's hurt in this, but apparently a big explosion at an airfield. It's a place that was occupied by Vlad's people. And the quote from Fedorov, which is the mayor of the town, is basically saying, that they're all there. And he said specifically, so they smoke at the airfield. And just now a powerful explosion has been recorded there. Of course, he goes on to say that they hope that the Vlads have been eliminated, blah, blah, blah. But it's the humor about it is he's painting this picture of like a whole bunch of Ruskies sitting around smoking at the airfield with the big gas tanks around them, and then poof, that goes up. That's just the kind of rhetoric that gets come in and out. Now, obviously, there's a picture. There was presumably and a large explosion there. I can't imagine that there wouldn't have been for them to put this together, but the story on it is kind of interesting to say the least.
Yeah, they're corny Vladian jokes, or corny UKR jokes. They're all corny. All right, and then before we talk about Vlad, it says Germany crossed red lines in arms supply deal. I just want to remind everybody that you can get upwards of $250 off, and that sale is ending soon. It was extended once. We don't know if they are going to be able to extend it again. Again, that was by many Foogle fam reaching out and saying, "Hey, we can't do this. We can't do this yet. We really want this deal, but we can't do it." So a lot of people reached out. They extended their $250 off deal on the 3-month supply. That's 90 days of food, all 3 meals for the day, packaged MREs, freeze-dried foods with a 25-plus year shelf life. A lot of folks buy this actually as an investment or even an insurance policy for their food, because in the 3 years since a lot of things have gone down, in 2019 when all of the things surged, the prices on all freeze-dried foods were about a third of what they are now. So in just 3 years, the prices almost tripled. So if you ended up getting something like this now, not only are you going to, in 3 years from now, it may triple in price, you'll still have 22 years left on the shelf. Good example there, the food and all of the prices are going up. With something that lasts this long, it's better to get it sooner than later because obviously the prices just keep going up and up and up, especially with inflation. But this is good. They don't just have a 3-month kit. They have a 1-month kit. They have a 72-hour kit. If you just want a 3-day kit you can throw in your bag that you can just take with you in your go bag, this is a very good way to do it. The meals, essentially freeze-dried food is a process where they take out absolutely every drop of water, and then that essentially takes it all out without removing a ton of the flavor. In fact, freeze-dried foods keep almost all of the flavor. That way, in 10 years from now, when you end up cooking it, you just add water and cook it, it tastes like it did that day, or at least as close as possible. Again, much better than dehydrated. Dehydrated has its different pros and cons. Both dehydrating and freeze drying is stuff that you could do at home, but freeze dryers now, if you really want to get one that could really do, DIY, that you wouldn't be sitting there 24/7 doing it for years to stock up. Those freeze dryers can run anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. Again, this is a great way just to have it done, have it ready to go. Again, they actually come packaged in these big buckets. The 3-month kit does, and it is normally $900. It is now $250 off. It's never been over $150 off, at least since 2019, and that means it's $650 for 3 months of food. When you divide that up into every day, that is cheaper than most people are spending. About a third of what most people are spending every day on their groceries already. So go to marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/prep. You're not only going to get that discount, you're also going to help independent media at the same time. All right, and then Dex, let's go over. So we talked about the red lines yesterday and the day before, and actually the next story. We said earlier this week that almost every day somebody is going to be popping up in the stories. We'll share that here in a second. But Dex, go ahead.
Right. So, we keep talking about these red lines, and I keep referencing the fact that they've got no shortage of putting red lines out there. What we haven't really seen is what are they going to do about it? Like, they don't ever seem to follow through, with any consequence for a red line. So here we have yet again another red line, specifically this time pointed at Germany. Basically for supplying UKR, and it's not going to be just Germany; it's everyone, because everyone in the NATO allies have supplied them, but mostly the U.S. But now they're picking specifically on Germany, and I think part of this is also because of the fact that the gas flows into Germany from Vlad's country, so that's another reason why they would want to pick specifically on them. And I also think that if you look at the rise of power, so to speak, in the European bloc, Germany's one of the biggest countries now as far as growth and strength and wielding, power there. So they just as much as the UK probably get a lot of that attention. So for Vlad to take somebody and pick on, it would be totally, off canter if he went over to, Moldova and said, "Oh, you're crossing a red line." That's more bullying, but Germany is definitely sort of picking a fight.
And it says supplying the UKR regime with German weapons is not only against Vladian servicemen, but also against the Donbass civilians. So they're saying you're not only hurting our guys, but you're hurting these other ones. It said it's certainly the red line which the German authorities should not have crossed. What's going to be the response? We'll follow it. We'll let you know. By the way, we usually, any story that we end up showing you here, we always keep track. We have a system to make sure that we are updating on all of these stories. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you want an update to all of this and you want to stay current on all of the news, even if you can't make our show, make the website, marfooglenews.com, and you can see each day's show, and then you can go to all the day's news. That's just not randomly populated. It's hand-picked. So again, make sure to go check that out. It does take a whole lot of time, so make sure to utilize it. You can also use the search bar for any subject. If you type in Donbass, you'll see all the shows we have talked about it. If you type in Germany, you'll see all the shows about Germany. Pretty much anything you search in there, you'll see the last 3 years of news and all of the archived stuff that's in there. Jolene Rice, thank you, and thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate it. And very cute emoji there. Be Real Beast says, at 200,000 subs, you give away energy. I'll help make this happen for the fam. God bless. Be Real Beast, I was actually just talking about this with Dex and trying to do more as far as get them out. The energy, the flex system, I was even thinking, like, if something was like that, we could almost help way more people if energy makes a smaller one that may be a better, just like, temporary kind of emergency thing that much more people might be able to use, especially in a storm or something like that. Because for the same prices of flex, we may be able to try to give away several smaller ones or something, or some of the ones that would be better for a temporary emergency. I think the flex is good for, especially if you are setting up, if you want to set up for a 30-day emergency or a year emergency, the Flex 1500 is good, or even the Kodiak. But they do make a smaller system, and I haven't used it yet. I want to use it and then see how I feel about it. But yeah, I agree. We want to do something at special at 200,000. When Marfoogle News, our other channel, hit 200,000, we wanted to do something special. And again, we did do something special, but it wasn't like what we wanted. We gave away a few things there. But I really do want to do that. So that's actually funny because I was just talking about that. Patricia Rivas says, a little something for you, Dex, and the family. MIA for a while. Patricia Rivas, no problem. Hopefully you can watch the replays, and I don't blame you. Life is crazy right now. So thank you, and thank you, Patricia Rivas. And make sure to see the outro, okay? Meryl Tyndall, thank you, and thank you. Everybody that supports this channel, whether it be once a month or whenever, thank you guys for supporting Independent. I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you, Mary. Again, I thank you guys so much. It is very much appreciated. All right, and then, I don't know if you guys remember, we just said this like 4 nights ago, and I said it pretty much every single day, and then I said it last night again. Every day, somebody has basically taken the cement shoes and dropped deado. It said that Vlad's election chief and top prosecutor was taken out in twin blasts by saboteurs in the latest perishings to Rock Tyrant. It says that 2 of Vlad's top officials in occupied UKR have been taken out in explosions. And I don't know if it's exactly, this one. Don't know if it's this one, but it appears that they have passed. Dex, it's been pretty much every day. I want to say it's been every single day. We have heard of a major figure of theirs perishing. Why don't we hear about UKR generals or intelligence officers or people perishing? Excuse me.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's either not being reported, or at least not being reported to the West, or it's just not happening, because all of this is just one-sided. And I don't, we keep questioning, where is this happening? Is it, an inside thing, an outside thing, a third party type thing, like with a 3-letter agency here in the U.S.? In this particular case, I think this is in more of the conflict area, but obviously targeting 2 people, or getting at least a 2 for 1, if you want to call it that. I hate to reference people like that, but in this scenario, they were able to take out 2 people in this particular situation. So, daily we have talked about whether it was suffocation, whether it was accidental falls, whether it was things that were planted in vehicles that were going up, whether it was people leaving from hospitals. We've had almost every scenario you could think of. I don't know what's next, but the rate it's going to keep happening.
Well, and we'll be there to follow it, and we're going to be covering it. Coming up, we have so many things on the horizon, so many good things as well. I hope everybody can keep hope up. There's a lot of bad things happening in the world, but that doesn't mean you can't be happy and positive about where it's going. I personally think that we will have further signs before serious things happen. There are a few kind of scenarios that I don't think we would get notice for, like some sort of surprise event that hit the United States or hit Europe or things like this. But for those things, you can't, it's not like you can control those things. You have to have kind of, I guess the wisdom to know, what you can deal with and what you can't. What is that, the Serenity Prayer? What is the Serenity Prayer? If somebody wants to pop that into chat. Basically, the courage to change the things you can, the wisdom, or gosh dang it, I forget. The courage. I did AA back in the...
It's God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
I went to AA in my early 20s, and that was... I used to know it by heart, but that was... But I think it applies in many things as far as, what's going on right now. There are certain things that you can't control. If a meteor hits us, there's no, why be afraid of that? Why be nervous and anxious because of that? If a nuke hits us, why be nervous and anxious about that? What we can, I think that people should push for is having stuff to survive through losing things that we take for granted. I think the most realistic scenarios are losing power, losing our grid, losing our computers, losing our internet. Without these things, our infrastructure will topple. Things like when you lose your grid, you will lose power, you lose water. I think that we will have a big natural disaster here in the United States. We are overdue for the Cascadia subduction zone. I think that that's going to throw the entire country through a loop. After everything that has happened with CV, the whole West Coast is going to affect half of the country. 21 different states are preparing for that. And that's something that people should be looking at. And these things are survivable. An earthquake is survivable. Even a tsunami is survivable. It depends on where you are, I guess. But, there's some places where you won't survive unless you, look at something like a submarine. But man, there are so many things we can survive and so many things to have hope for, so make sure you understand that as well. Dex, I want to thank you for today. I also want to thank Mary Tyndall. And again, thank you for the support. It says Save the Children. Appreciate you, Mary Tyndall. And then again, thank you for popping in. And then Colorado Crypto Chick says thank you. And very cute super sticker there. Thank you. Patricia Rivas, thank you. Be Real Beast, Jolene Rice, and everybody else, thank you so much. Thank your mods for keeping it a peaceful place. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we finally figured out how to do the chat log. Let me know if that worked for you. I'm sure most people it did. If you're watching all the way through and you answer this question, I know that you're hardcore, so thank you for watching the whole show. But yeah, now it basically gives you the basic rundown, like, don't talk badly about the callers, don't say next or whatever. But it's really cool that they have that. Dex, thank you for your service today, and let's go over the web only.
Yeah, lots going on in web only. So guys, don't run anywhere. Pay attention. Marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show, or open the show notes link in the description on YouTube. It's the first link right there. A whole lot of additional things happening here. So if you haven't heard, there's a new capital of the world, or not the world, but of the U.S., and that is New Orleans. They now have taken the #1 seat of a position that I don't think anybody really wants to have. So that's there. There's a handful of articles there that are also talking about a lot of the violence that's been going around in the towns. So not just their town, but even in other places. I know we've covered a little bit of that. It's sort of a wake up call. If you're not aware of what's going on in some of these major cities, at least be prepared, pay attention, make sure you understand your surroundings. But if you want to know what's happening there, go check it out. Hey, Bezos lost his spot, one of his positions as ranking in the most richest people in the world. It was unseated by another person who probably none of you know. So if you want to go find out who that is, I'll tell you his name is Quantum, but you're probably going to go, who's that? So find out. It's on the website. DHS spent $700,000 investigating gamers and gaming for that thing that the DHS has been talking quite a bit about, the labeling of a lot of people. Hey, for those of you that do searches, yeah, isn't that crazy?
Wow.
For those of you that do searches, be careful. I mean, everybody searches, but be careful. Scammers are doing SEO tricks now to get at the top. And so when you think you're searching for a result and you click a link at the top, it might actually be a scammer. That's kind of an interesting one. I've even seen them get through the ads lately where they're actually paying to be an ad at the top of a search result. And of course, the Oogs and the others are not catching that fast enough. And I've had friends and family that have been duped by those. So
I was just got one of those scam things the other day when I was looking for a regular website. It was Pixabay, and it was like another one, and it was a total scam, and it was like send money, and it was totally misspelled, all sorts of things, and it was the top of the search result, the very top. Also, if you haven't seen this, there's ads on YouTube, and probably some of you will recognize this. If you've ever looked up a drone on YouTube or anything like that, I guarantee you get this ad. But where these ads say, this was a military technology that up until last year cost $4,000 per unit, and only the U.S. government could make this drone. And it's showing you like basically stock footage of a DJI drone, and it's selling you on a drone that costs like $100, and the patent is so much money and blah blah blah. But now we can make it at a fraction of the cost. It's a piece of crap, like horrible drone. But this ad's been around forever. It has the same exact video as that, and it's always out there, and it's like, and now because of a new law that went in this week, and by the way, that ad played for a year and a half, and it's always this week, it went through and blah, 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 and now you can access it and get this drone for a fraction of the cost. And it shows the drone doing all this stuff it doesn't. Well, now they have literally taken every word of that ad, and now they're paying it, and it's all over YouTube, and they're doing an ad for this thing that shocks your abs. Do not buy that. It shocks all 6 of your abs. It's one of those things that's the energizer that basically sends a little signal that forces your abs to crunch. It's probably a $5, made in G, product. I guarantee it is. I don't know. No.
It's a TENS device.
It's a TENS device. Whatever those things are, they just tense up your muscles, right? Whether those work or not, I'm not going to debate, but the commercial goes, this was a patent that the U.S. military used for their special ops and blah, blah, blah. They basically took the same script, and now they're putting it all over YouTube, and I'm like, how is that even allowed? They are making so many lies. That's false advertising for one, but I could not believe that they just switched the product on the same story. And they said that the owner of the company is a veteran and fights for the country, and now has brought this patent, and now that the military has let the patent go, they can use it and they can sell it to you. I just could not believe that. And these are the kinds of things that are in places where we trust. You trust if it's on an ad on YouTube, and I guarantee you a lot of people go, oh, well, it's a big ad. I've seen it a million times. It's a trustworthy thing. Or if it's at the top of a Google result and it's an ad, you're like, oh, that's legit. It's getting crazy. Like, not only is the world kind of falling apart and economic stuff, the worse that it gets, the more just straight up in daylight people are going to try to rob you. It's absolutely nuts. So watch out for that ad. Even if you're trying to lose some weight in your midriff, I would do it other ways. Don't buy that stupid product. But my point is these scams are everywhere now. Now it is across YouTube that basically there's any comments and they pretend to be the creator and they're saying, what do you call it? It'll be like DM me on some weird direct message thing, and basically it's a phishing operation. And it's been done to us, it's been done to Jacob, but it's been done to all of the big people. I've seen like PewDiePie and all of these big creators. They have to do a video basically saying like, that's not me. If somebody's responding to you and saying to send your info, don't. So again, make sure to look at what you are doing. All right, and
don't search customer service numbers. That's what got somebody I know. They thought they were calling eBay, and they typed into the eBay customer service phone number, and an ad popped up, and the phone number was a scam. And of course, it'll get knocked out later by the OOG, but for as many people as searched it and dialed that number, then they get on the line with somebody. They think they're talking to eBay customer service, and then before they know it, they're doing a test transfer of money or approving, some sort of transaction to make sure they can get paid from their eBay account. And boom, they just lost thousands of dollars. So kind of a scary thing.
The oldest one in the book is that the whole like Craigslist thing where I think I told you guys about this, but years ago I almost got super tricked, and after that I could not believe I got tricked by this. But I thought it was just so unique. How could they do this? And what it was is I was looking for an apartment, and I was looking for a place to rent in my early 20s. And I was basically looking for a place to rent, and I remember I saw this place, and it looked like a beautiful apartment, and then I called it to try to rent it, and I emailed, and then they basically emailed and said, you can actually rent this place for free, and we'll pay you $2,000 a month. I know it sounds stupid for me to believe this, but the way that it ended up working out and how they did it, they basically said, we're out of the country, we have a furniture business, and we can't do any of the deposits and money things there because it was against the rules. And remember, I'm a dumb 18-year-old, I don't know how old. And it's like, we can't do any of the deposit or the money stuff. We will give you $2,000 a month or let you stay in that apartment for free. We'll send you the keys right now, but we need you to cash some checks and just be our guy to cash checks in America. And basically what happened is, and they said, we'll send you the check. Don't worry. We'll send you a legit check, this and that. And they sent a postal order or whatever, one of those post orders, and it actually came, and I was like, wait, whoa, this is crazy. And at first I went to the bank or the post office, and I said, does this look real? And they said, if you would have taken that into the bank, you would have gotten because it was a mail order, post order. And they said, if you would have taken that to the bank, you would have gotten charged with a felony, regardless of your knowledge of how fake that was. So it was like that kind of thing. That has evolved over the years, and now they have gotten so clever. Most of them, though, are really bad, where it's misspelled. They'll text you with dots and periods in between and all sorts of weird things. If it doesn't look right, then it's probably not right. And if it's too good to be true, then it's probably not true. That I learned a long time ago. But man, that I could not believe. I was so stupid back then. And because they take advantage of if you're needy, if you need an apartment, or if you're trying to do something, or if you need a job. They did it to people that needed a job as well. Same thing. And I was surprised to find out that other people I knew had the same thing happen to them. When I think back then I posted on MySpace or something, and everybody was like, oh, that happened to me too. Could not believe I fell for that stupid stuff. So make sure to be careful, especially online, with everything you do. And again, another reason why you should have a VPN. Make sure to go check that out, NordVPN, marfooglenews.com/VPN. All right, Dex, thank you, and I appreciate you. And thank you so much for all of your work today, and thank the mods for all of their work today.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Survival Game says, my stomach is flat, but the L is silent. Have a great weekend. Yes, your stomach is flat, but the L is silent. That's good. And BNB, thank you so much for supporting us. I appreciate all of the support today. Thank you guys. Again, appreciate you. Thank you over on DLive, everybody that popped in tonight. Thank you. Cambria SG83, Ruckutin, for rootin' for Putin 69. Oh man. Skyhouse, I Love Jesus Forever, Perusia. What a beautiful name. Is that Perusia? What a beautiful name. Thank you guys. Mystic Truth Ninja, again, thank you for being the top supporter of our on D Live. Let's see here. Mary Tyndall, thank you for being number 2 on YouTube. And then thank you, Patricia Rivas, for being number 1. It's time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's a no, wait. I started the music too early and it messed me up. It's not a shoutro. It's not a shout out. Okay, I got it this time, I promise. It's not a shout out. It's not an outro. It's a shoutro. Just a reminder, my music is not supposed to be good. It's supposed to be silly and fun and have your name included in it. So if somebody, but reminder, if somebody, I will say this, somebody says, this song is so crappy, and my mods in general will get rid of any kind of negative, just really mean things. That might have been somebody new that doesn't realize it's not supposed to be serious nor good. Just try to give me a thumbs down if it's so harmful or torturous that I need to change it. Or give me a thumbs up if it's good, and I'll keep it. Emojis are good. But if you do say it's crappy, if somebody says it's crappy and they're not doing it on purpose, don't get rid of them. This is all just for fun to say thank you to you guys. And I'm not trying to be self-deprecating or... I know some of the songs that I do are okay. And some of them are on the border of good. Most are torture. And I'm okay with that. I keep practicing. Let's make a new one for Patricia Rivas.